I've been with the business for over 30 years, and it's been a lot of fun developing it. Over 65% of our sales are overseas. So what's a really cool thing about our company is we host international guests all the time, and I love to show them Pembroke. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And I have 4 million miles of lifetime travel promoting our products overseas. So it's really been such an education for me, meeting people and learning the ways of the world. But
That's
I've
awesome.
since being back living in Pembroke permanently now, it's and where the business is at, it's allowed me to turn my attention inward somewhat and really look around the town and see where I can give back. And
Isn't that the best part of success is being able to give back?
it really is. I mean, I enjoy it so much, and I'm just so thankful I had the opportunity to have my family business to grow and see it prosper. And I have young children are showing interest in it, and I really want to instill in our family giving back. And in fact, we just started a family foundation last year that we're having a lot of fun with. We're kind of
Nice.
still picking our causes and all. We're,
Nice.
we live on a farm, so a lot of nature things and the like. But the community center is really something. It's a where to begin with the whole project here. I reference, gosh, I'm going to say, 12 years ago. My daughter's 15, so she was. We went up to the rec center for a program, a basketball program,
Yep.
at the community center, and I hadn't been in it in a lot of years since my childhood days.
Yep.
And I was like, oh my God, this hasn't changed.
Yeah, at all. I remember when my kids used to go up there too.
And then I talked to folks in town. And I said, hey, what's going on with that building? I just brought my daughter there for a class, and they said, well, Andy, we think you're the right guy at the right time. I kind of stepped right into it. But I then, studied the past committees that had been working on the project, and that's what first inspired me to get me going.
That's awesome. So I'm going to go back, way back where in my history is I believe I was on the zoning board at the time, and you must have been doing some construction or something at your building. And I remember, the abutters show up and it's something to do with lights and are they going to be shining at night and everything. And I just remember saying, the way that they keep the front of that building and just the entryway, it's just so clean and so tidy and such pride of ownership that, I knew that right away, what type of a business you are and you're very committed to doing the right thing.
Right. Yeah. We really wanted to create a space for visitors from around the globe to come and spend time with them, and gave a lot of thought to the building layout and its location. And we had 5 acres to work with, so the driveway coming in was really important to us, and the curb appeal. We have a fire museum in our lobby, and I would think most manufacturing companies you'd visit do not have museums in their lobby, but it was
Not
important
most.
to us. We have fire apparatus we've collected for over 80 years. As a business is 85 years old, so
Yeah.
it really presents well, and we love to host events there. Part of my giving back, I love having, the chamber has events there, and after hours events of all kinds that we love to host. We have great space for that, and
That's awesome, which is how you were connected to me tonight. It was sort of last minute, but Peter Brown, obviously of Tiny and Sons, actually reached out to me and said, hey, we need some support around this cause, and we just want to bring some attention to it, some positive attention. And I'm all about doing the positive attention for things that we need in our town. So I was like, absolutely. So we changed gears on our show tonight to have you here. And we also have Mr. Trabucco. Hello.
Hi, Sharon. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Thanks for inviting me.
I am so
Hi,
happy to
Dan.
have you.
Hi, Andrew. Nice to see you as well.
Yes,
you're
Dan.
late.
I know Dan came in literally on 2 wheels tonight, so we're really happy to have you. And again, it was all last minute, but I was asked to do this, and I agree with you. Do you prefer Andy or Andrew?
Andy's fine.
Andy, we have this motto around here: you give it out in slices, it comes back to you in loaves. It's not the reason why you do it, but that's just how, the world works, right? When you're giving out good. So I'm happy to have you here and give this show and all this time to you. To our WATD listeners, one more time, 781-837-4900. We are live tonight. We are talking all things Pembroke. So if you have any questions for us, please feel free to call in. If you would like to talk about anything to do with real estate, I'm sure you could call in and these guys will listen and maybe they can chime in. But Dan, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you and your role in our town? Because you have a big role.
Right. So I'm chair of the select board. I've been a member of the select board for, holy cow, 14 years now, thereabouts.
Yeah, you're
And-
sort of an old guy up
I
there
know,
now, aren't
right?
you?
I must be doing something right. They keep electing me. I literally have 14 signs left from the first time. I haven't bought signs
Oh, my
since the first
gosh.
time. And I just recycle them. But, you know, I love this town. I raised my family in this town. And I'm a member of the select board, previously a member of the planning board. And I just try to do the right things for the right reason. And you can't please everyone in town, and that's what I'm not out there to please everyone. I'm out there to please the town, capital T.
Yeah. And that's what I think is so important about our boards. And as you know, I'm on and have been over the years on several boards. And I've had to come before you and interview with you and, you know, to be on these committees. And I think it's really important to get people on the committees that want to do it for the town, not for their own reasons, like if they have some reasons behind it, you know. Unfortunately, that happens. I'm not saying it happens in Pembroke, but it does happen on these small little towns and in the boards. And I think it's great that we have such a good group of people who want to sort of rally behind this important cause. So who wants to start with Article 4 and tell our listeners a little bit about what's going on? And more importantly, for everybody who's listening, how did we get here? Like, we've been working, Dan, you tell me. I remember when Ed Thorne was the town administrator. And remember, he did this little event. It was sort of a bigger event. It was over at the Pembroke Country Club. And we're just talking about ideas and thoughts of things that we would like to see in our community. And I remember I was invited as a community resident. And we were talking about the community center back then, way back then. And finally, we're almost there. And what would you say, like inches to like the field goal? Like, I know nothing about football.
Well, we were there, and then got called back on a penalty. If you want to have a football analogy,
Yeah.
because the town voted for it at last town meeting by more than a 2/3 vote, which was necessary. It went to the town election, and the town election was we only needed 50% plus one, and we ended up with approximately 2/3 of the voters voting for it. So there are 2/3 of the people in town that want a new community center, and I've been encouraged to make sure that I state that the folks that vote against it or had voted against it or might even vote against it this time, I don't want to disparage them. I'm an advocate for the community center, and the people that have a different view than me, those points are valid. They're their own views. Some are shared with about a third of the people, right? So I want to make sure that they don't feel disparaged.
Yeah.
Their vote is
Or slighted.
valid too.
Yeah.
Or slighted, yeah, absolutely. But I want to advocate for it because it's such a good project for the community. Starting off with the building itself is condemned. We know that.
Yes.
It needs to be torn
And it's
down.
currently vacant.
It's currently vacant, unusable. It had been right before it had been condemned. It was being used. It was being used to the greatest extent possible for the footprint that it had. It was meant as a school. It was never meant as a community center. But the town had been utilizing it through a daycare, through the Commission on Disabilities had space in there. The recreation center was the predominant user of the space.
We used to have bingo for hockey. Remember
Bingo
hockey?
for
Remember that?
hockey.
Yeah.
The place was being utilized. It's and so there's a need. There's a community need for that. Now, couple that with that oddball footprint that we shoehorned in all those activities. Now, this new facility is also going to have all those activities and more, because Recreation Center will grow, because they'll have the space, they'll have the elbow room now, but also the Council on Aging is going to be there. And one thing that I've heard that I want to dispel: this is not a glorified basketball court for the youth. This is a true community center from the very young to the very old. And the Council on Aging is going to be a predominant resident in that building, and the uses that Gretchen Emmetts, the Council on Aging Director, foresees for this building is she's excited about it. The seniors are excited about it. And the senior center that we have now is, once again, another building in Pembroke that's been shoehorned, use has been shoehorned.
I feel
into
like
a space.
Band-Aid. I keep on, when you're saying shoehorned, I 100% agree. It's almost like putting a square peg in a round hole. But I feel like we've Band-Aided the death out of these buildings, and we've saved the town so much money over the years by repurposing the buildings that we already had to use. I mean, just sort of making it fit, when in all reality, it really didn't. We just made it work, right?
Absolutely. And you know, we've done a good job with what we had. But it's time to take the next step forward. And this building has been designed to do just that.
And, you know, I think that one of the things I'm really excited about, too, about this is the multi-generational use of this building that you're going to have, and bringing the young and the old together. And everybody knows here, I mean, the name of our show is Talk Real Estate Roundtable. And in my industry, we are seeing more and more multi-generational living. It is just the way that it is. And what a better way for families to be able to say, okay, Mom, while I'm at work, working full-time in Boston, and you're taking care of the kids, you know, there's going to be some project, you know, whatever's going on up at the community center for the kids, and maybe there's something going on for the seniors. But I also think it's good, they're probably on opposite schedules, right, for the best use.
That's right. The schedules will be fine-tuned, but the projections are that it just seems normal. The seniors will use it during the day while the children are in school. The children will come in after school, and then it's open to the community, whether it's a basketball for adults or classes.
You want to play a little game of one-on-one? Bring back my CYO days.
Back in the 80s, I would have taken you on, Sharon.
Okay.
I do have the
Perfect.
projected programs that they're going to be running from the new community center, and I see pickleball heavily.
Oh, yeah, that's like
noted
the big
here,
thing,
that,
right?
Beginner, intermediate, and advanced. But
I want a knitting
so
class,
many
to
great,
be quite honest.
Well, there is a knitting class listed there, but
Is it?
so many great programs that can be operated out of this. Our committee started, back in 2017, the Community Center Task Force that Dan and I sat on with Mike Gamaris and Michelle Burt, Steve Curley, Kyle Harney, Andy Wendell. It was a real great group of folks that had been
All townies.
that have partook in the past studies too. So it brought a lot to the table. But what I always, looking back on the four and a half years we've been working on this, we brought in Bargman, Henry, and Archetype. We got approval at a previous town meeting for some consulting work, and we found this company in Boston that's built over 25 community centers in the state of Mass. And these folks are the real experts. And as you were alluding to, it's so intriguing what they put in a building today.
Yeah.
So that multi-generational, multi-purpose facility, combining COA with Pembroke Rec, there's so much to be gained from it. And there's so much savings, too, versus having two separate structures. But
And that's one of the things, too. And one of the things I'm just seeing in life in general is, of course, we think about the community center. We think about, for the younger kids and needing that. But honestly, for Council on Aging, I mean, selfishly, I'm going to talk about it. My dad's 85 years old, and finding things to sort of entertain him has been a challenge. I mean, Dan, you used to bump into him playing cards, right?
My wife still calls him Chippy because he took all of her chips in poker.
Exactly. But now he's at the point where I don't feel comfortable with him driving at night and things like that. So to be able to go over to the community center and to be able to hang out. And I'll tell you, that's one of the things I'm excited about. So I rewatched your interview that you had, and with Bill Chenard too, with Julie Thompson from PAC TV. And I was watching that earlier. And one of the things that's so exciting is that outside grounds, and just being able to, use a center for what a center is really made for, right? Andy and I were talking about this earlier. I grew up in Dorchester. I mean, we had CYO. It was all about community. And we also just hung out on the corner, but it was community. And I think that that's what that will provide.
yeah, our town green space is doubling in size, and you think about it today, it's a sad spot, it's
I would never go over there and have a cup of coffee.
No.
just because,
Right,
to get a little fresh air.
I look at this as much as outside space as indoor space, and I love Pembroke's big events. the Arts Festival. It's an amazing program. The Memorial Day Parade. To have it end in a place like the Town Green in front of a new community center really just puts it under a whole new light. And just to have this awesome area to hang out by the bandstand. You can still have all the concert series, and it's just such a more welcoming spot. Now we're looking at this condemned building. I mean, this thing has been kicked down the road for 20 years, and we're still talking about it. And really, I think it's important for everyone to know $19 million was approved for this project. Now, a year later, costs have gone up, and we've uncovered some hazardous waste that nearly doubled the cost of that remediation that our first estimate. So
I'm going to play the sort of the devil's advocate. So I'm just
Sure.
not all like cushy here, right? I'm going to make the questions a little difficult. And,
Bring
and
it,
I don't think
Sharon.
they're difficult. I know you can handle it. That's why I'm going to do it. But I think, in order to sort of clear what the opposition, like if there are people who are opposing it because maybe they don't know the answers. I think that's what always happens is people sort of make assumptions and then this one talks and that one talks and it just sort of gets sort of cloudy. Do you agree, Dan?
Absolutely, especially at a town meeting vote. If the history is if someone doesn't know or isn't sure, their sure thing in their mind is to vote no. And that's part of what happened at the last town meeting. The last town meeting, we were looking for more money because the 19 million wasn't enough due to an unprecedented influx of inflation and rising prices for material costs. And the labor was a little bit up, but it was really driven by material costs. And that was a combination of the end of COVID, oil supplies down, and some might say were they down naturally or was it man-made and or policy driven, and you could see that side too. But the end of it all was that the prices rose. So we had an estimate when we asked for the 19 million. The estimate was done by a professional. It was not done by anyone in the town. The town hired professionals to give us that estimate for $19 million. And that $19 million included a $1 million contingency in case things went up or in case we missed something. Well, in the interim, the inflation went up, but that wasn't the only factor. As Andrew mentioned a moment ago, we did a comprehensive asbestos evaluation, and for the estimate, you don't do in construction a comprehensive asbestos evaluation. You do a cursory one. So we did an extensive evaluation. We found, holy cow, the asbestos had doubled. The cost for the asbestos was doubled. So that jacked the price up by $1 million. $1 million out of the 3.1 that they were looking for.
I'm going
was
to be honest.
just that.
I think that's sort of a little when you think about the size of the building. And I do a lot of new construction and I've done a lot of things in the city and I've seen some of the asbestos mitigations that go on and it's pretty hefty. I mean,
it really hamstrings projects for
Yeah.
sure. And this was unforeseen from our initial estimate, but most of the money is in the bank at a fantastic rate. So
it's
we
like
were
what, 1.9?
1.9, is that right, Dan?
I think it's 7. And someone had asked this question, and it's a valid question. When town meeting and town election, the town election voted to approve the $19 million, someone asked, why did the town go out and bond it right away before bidding? Well, that is the process. You bond it before bidding. You have the money in hand so that you can go out to bid. And as a matter of fact, once we found out that the estimate was greater than the $19 million, we could not go out to bid, because if we went out to bid and then didn't have the funding for it, it would have been illegal. Municipal governments are not the same as a private entity. So I just want to make sure that the folks out there know that we did the right thing. We went out there and aggressively pursued the best bond rate at the best time, and it was for no other reason than that. And what that did, since we had secured the bonding, if town meeting does not vote to go to the $3.1 million, it puts the town in a bind. Do we build a structure that does not support all the services that both recreation and council on aging need? That's almost pointless, and I hope we don't have to go there. But then, if the town is stuck with that bond money that we are paying 1.7 for, and gaining in a money market account greater than that, well, that's called arbitrage.
Okay.
And Bill Chenard can talk about that, the financial aspect of that and the ramifications of that. But the federal government does not allow that.
They
So,
frown upon that.
yes.
Okay, that sort of makes sense. So there's $1 million, is it 1.1 million for the asbestos removal, remediation?
That was the upcharge.
The upcharge, okay, so we have 1.1. Now we're asking for 3.1. So where's the other 2 million? Just the upcharge on supplies and product and all
Simple
that?
inflation.
Yeah,
Also, we went to bid with this project now. So we had, I think it went out to 6 or 7 bidders, and they have a low bid. So we have a concrete number. Everything was, a little bit of estimates, but now there's a low bidder. Actually, it's a Hanover company, I heard, I'm pretty sure, was the low bidder, which is great, keeping the business locally. But I believe if this passes a town meeting Tuesday, they will be signing the contract and work will begin. So the numbers are in. This is all set in stone, the design and the numbers. So there's really no guesswork at this point as far as what the building's going to be like and what the price is going to be. There is, some monies out there that we're still working on with the state and the feds, and it's not exact, but what we're looking at is the 3.1 is a worst case scenario, and we may very well do better than that. We may not need to borrow the 3.
yeah.
But that is needed for municipal bidding projects like this. We have to have everything covered completely, and that's the reason for Article 4.
So Andrew brings up a great point. The one thing the committee that studied this in the town, the select board, the town manager have been staunch upon, is not to promise grants or other funding that we don't have secured yet. So this money that we're asking town meeting for is a town expenditure, but we are aggressively pursuing grant money from the state. We are pursuing grant money from the federal government, and we have a bill that Congressman Keating has put forth, and it's passed the House. It hasn't passed the Senate yet, but that will give us several $1 million if it passes. But we want to be honest. We want to be clear. We want to be open. All of that is extra, whipped cream on top.
Yeah.
And if we do get those grants, this $3.1 million will not be spent, and the money will go back into the town coffers.
Okay. So I know, over the summer, Dan, I was over on the vineyard and I took a screenshot of the newspaper. I love to get the newspaper over there. And I know that they were doing a big project with the school, and their budget went up like 41%, or like some enormous amount. So I guess it's hard for me because I listen to the news and all of that, and I can 100% understand how this happened. I also bought a car right during COVID, right? So I bought one, what year are we in now? 2022. So I bought a 2022 last September. I walked in the door and they wanted me to pay $5,000 over the, MS, what is that called?
MSRP.
Yeah, the MSRP. And I said, why? They're like supply and demand. And then I got a ding in my windshield, and I went to Tiny and Sons, of course, because that's what we do here in Pembroke and all surrounding towns on the South Shore. I love to give them some kudos here. Keep it hyper local. That happened in April. My windshield just went on last week. So it's still there, even though people think COVID is behind us. We still have the repercussions of the cost of everything. And I wonder, do you think things will go up too, though, because of what just happened in Florida?
Well, there's a possibility, but I've been watching the national programs, and they believe that inflation and supply side issues are going to stay level from where they are now. We were hoping that they would go down, but it's insidiously hanging on.
But I think there's we have to do this project today, regardless of the economy. If you choose to wait, the price is only going to go up as a general rule.
Absolutely.
So, 19 mil has been secured. We need another 3.1 at town meeting to start this project. The building will be demolished and a new building will be going up. In 18 months from next Tuesday, we'll be having a grand opening of a new facility in town, and it's just super exciting.
Super exciting.
The
yeah.
time really was 10 years ago, but here we have a great opportunity to really cross the finish line here. Everybody's behind this. Everybody sees a need. It really is a need. You know, if you spend some time with Gretchen Emmett's over at COA, she's doing a wonderful job with what she has, but the facility is just, it's not providing the services that seniors need. There's over 4,000 residents over the age of 65 in Pembroke, and that demographic's growing steadily. And you see other COAs, Duxbury, Marshfield, amazing programs. You know, our committee's been studying them, and they offer so much, you know, that our town deserves that. You know, with your father, I mean, we chase seniors out of town. They go to area town COAs. We deserve our own, you know, and this building will provide that. There's so many intangibles, I think, that are on the table here for this new building once it's done. You know, it's going to increase property values, and it's going to provide a place in the center of our town to, you know, for people to walk around and feel proud about their town.
Yeah.
And to have a condemned building that we have now, the time really is past, and we really, you know.
Now it's just dangerous. I mean, that's how it is.
It's
you know?
a need more than a want.
Yeah.
You know, this building provides emergency shelter in case of storms. You look at the storms out there today. You know, right now we try to pack everybody in the library if we have a hurricane event or something. So, you know, the new facility will provide that. So it's just so much there for everyone, and it truly is a need.
And that emergency shelter is not, it's a reality. That's happened here in Pembroke. The winter storm Hugo, the library had, I think there were 40 people that stayed there with women, children, pets, and we served them. We have cots that we were given by the county that we have stored and we can use. But this new facility will have a larger footprint to serve the people, have showers in it so to make it compliant to be a true emergency shelter. It has an emergency generator. It has a kitchen in it. So, and look what happened in Florida. I mean, these storms can happen. So to have an emergency shelter that has the proper facilities to take care of the people, whether it's for complete housing or if it's for even a warming shelter, it's important.
So we did have somebody that had actually sent some messages on Facebook. So certainly if you have any questions for Dan Trabucco or Andy Sullivan here, talking about the importance of voting yes for this Article 4 that's coming up at our town meeting, which is scheduled for next Tuesday, October 18th at 7 p.m. at the high school, right?
That's
I got
correct.
that.
7
So
p.m.
he said, so somebody wrote on there, it was a mom that said this, Mel? Oh, okay. Growing up, she said that she always remembered coming to the community center was a big part of her childhood in her community. So not necessarily in Pembroke's, but that was a big part of, you know, in everybody's, you know, community. And, you know, as you were talking, one of the things, I have two questions, so please don't let me forget. It happens, right? I get sidetracked. But one is I'm interested to know how much more will this be on everybody's taxes? And then secondly, do you remember when we got the new library? Did you remember that feeling? I mean, my kids were younger then, and I remember that feeling. Like, I was giddy. I was, like, so happy, like, so excited to go into the library, you know what I mean? And I think that that's what is going to happen here. And, Andy, to your point about, you know, property values and all of that, you know, increasing the property value, what it will actually do, because I know a little bit about this, is it's going to increase the marketability of our town and people wanting to be here and the people who grow up here wanting to stay here, similar to some of the other towns that we see that have these community centers or these walkability areas like downtown Hingham and things like that. The kids that grow up there want to stay there. That's what we want in our town. And it saddens me, and I was telling you, because I know your son is applying to a college, and my daughter just happened to get her master's from Clemson. And she said to me, she was home last weekend, and she's like, Mom, I don't think that I would ever move back to Pembroke. And I was like, well, why is that? Makes me sad. She goes, down south, it's just so great. Like, you can, go to the little town and you can sit around, you can get a pastry, you can do, everybody's just sort of walking around saying hello. I think that outside part will do that and bring the community together. And I think our community, every community needs to come together. That's how we grow, and that's how we become great, by helping each other.
And I think historically the town hasn't done a great job with their infrastructure overall. And, this could really be a catalyst to start, fixing up downtown. And public safety is on a lot of people's minds as well. Our committee is wholeheartedly behind public safety project, which I think is following quickly on its heels. So, does it involve taxes? Yes, it does. But we've long overlooked town infrastructure, and this is the first step. Get this, we're going to get this right, get this going, and I think really good things can happen from there. And there, like you said, I think retail businesses are going to look at our town a little differently and be like, hey,
I want to be there.
AAU basketball games, get out. People want to go eat somewhere. You might find restaurants and other things that will suddenly have more appeal to businesses. So, I really think, if this thing opened in 18 months and then you came back 5 years after that, it might have a lot different look and feel to it. And I think it's all very positive. People are afraid of change, certainly. And, I live in a very historic home. I love the history of Pembroke. I love how historic it is. But we do have to provide services. And we have to be, a little bit of pro-business here to welcome the right businesses in. And you do it respectfully through the planning board and all, but we want to make it attractive.
Yeah. And I do think, for the people that I have spoken to, I've spoken to, people have been stopping in my office, by the way, just saying, please, get the word out that how important this is. But I'm seeing it from all demographics, which I think is interesting. So I love the demographic that is the older generation, that boomer generation, that they're saying, hey, everybody in this community, they paid for my kids and for us to have the things that we had, library being one or whatever else was going on in the community. They feel as if it is their time. They want this for our kids and for themselves and for the seniors. So two things. Don't let me forget to ask about how much it's going to be. But one of the things, I am on the committee for the public safety building committee. I am on that committee, and we talked at our last meeting, and we decided to put everything that we were going to discuss at any of the town meetings on hold, because my words were, I am tired of kicking the can down the street. Can we finish one project, then get to the second project? So I don't want any of our listeners, especially our Pembroke listeners who are going to be out and, coming to the town meeting next week. It's really important that you go to support this. You have the voice to say yes. I don't want them to misconstrue that, oh, I'm not going to vote for this because I think that the fire department and the police department are more important. Okay. And Dan, maybe you can talk about this with budgeting and everything. Is it not true? This $3.1 million and what we need to do for the fire and police, we're going to be coming out of some debt, which is going to basically cover what the police will need when they do their thing and fire.
Some of the debt is coming off in 2024. So it's going to have a balancing effect, not quite equilibrium, but it'll be a balancing effect on any future expenditures. So the previous vote for the $19 million for this project, it's already been passed, is a projected an average impact, tax impact of $153 for the median house.
Okay.
Hold. And this $3.1 million is around $25 per year.
Okay.
So we've already committed $19 million. The town has voted on that overwhelmingly. So to hold that up or stop it for $25 a year, and I know some people are tight and they can't afford a penny, never mind a dollar.
Yep.
But holy cow, we really are. We are spending good money to complete this project, to move it forward, for all the reasons that we've already expressed, that it is a benefit to the town.
Yeah, absolutely.
At $25 for the average household is the added bit here to get over the hump. And I mean, really, you break it down to the monthly or weekly basis, to hold this thing hostage now, to not pass this through would be just tragic.
Yeah.
That everybody, see, I think some of the confusion in the past too is people thought the 19 million passed is a done deal. I don't need to go to town meeting again.
Yeah.
So that's not the case. We do need this extra to be able to sign the contract and
And get it going.
right.
Yeah, and one thing that should be brought up is that in add to this cost was brought up at the last town meeting, spring town meeting, and it did not pass. It needed a 2/3 vote. It missed by, as we know, just a couple of votes.
And can I tell you how guilty I feel about that? Because
You and so many others
I
say,
feel
wish I
so
would've-"
guilty because I am good about going to town meeting, and Mark and I did not go. Our daughter was getting married in Greece the following week. And I just said to him, and, I'm not even a COVID, like weird about it or whatever. I was just like, Mark, it would really be terrible if we got COVID and couldn't go to our daughter's wedding. And that's honestly the reason. But I watched it all on Ravel on TV, by the way.
Yeah, so what, I just want to mention about the last town meeting. As we know, it was defeated, and the folks that did not want it, they won the day. But I do want to make the point that we're not trying to get another bite at the apple here by bringing it forward again. And the reason for that is, and how I can justify that statement, is that now we have true numbers. It was conjecture, it was an estimate before, and people had the mindset, one mindset might have been that, well, you gave us an estimate on the 19 million, that was wrong. How do we know this estimate is correct? Well, now we know. We have hard numbers. So we're not...
I just want to say that. I want to state, because I've heard some things, everybody tells me everything for some reason or another. The credibility of the committee had been questioned. And I think it's because you were giving your best guesstimates, but now you have the actual facts. So the credibility is there. You guys know me. I mean, Andy, we've just met, but Dan, I will I will tell everybody how I really feel, right?
Sure.
And I would not be standing behind this project and have you both here as guests of mine if I didn't truly believe that this was the best thing for our community, for our residents, and for everybody involved for Pembroke. So I am a definite vote yes person for this, and I hope that you can get out there and help support me and our community for this.
Yeah, it's a long process. I mean, our committee is made up of volunteers.
Yeah.
Everybody has other lives, and we're doing our best to give back to the town. We need experts, and I'm personally, it's my first pass at seeing
First rodeo?
First
Oh,
rodeo.
well,
with
welcome aboard.
How municipalities work and how the committee process works. But people. We don't have a town news so much anymore, and the information is scattered. It's really hard.
Don't believe everything you see on Pembroke Connect. As the founder of Pembroke Connect, I am telling you, please don't listen to everything that you see.
It's a hard place if you count on that exclusively for your news. You can't.
No, you
and
can't.
there's not really a good news source. So I think there's a detachment there.
Yep.
It's a real challenge for our town management and Bill Chenard to have a unified message out there.
Yeah.
And,
One thing that I really want to work on, Dan, I'm going to sort of put a side note on this. First of all, can we please get a dog park in town? I know Dan, Bill is sick of me asking for that. But secondly, I was going to ask you something else, and now because we only have a few minutes left, so I was going to ask you. What was I going to ask you? Something I don't remember.
Well, here's something while you're thinking that it's a question that's important. Folks want to know what the operating costs are.
Yeah.
So I have year 1 through year 5 projected costs for maintenance for it, keep the lights on and staffing. So the first year it's 279 million, and project out to year 5 1,000.
Okay, I was going to say, right? Yeah, that seems like a lot.
Year 5, 300,000, and so those increases are. So the first year, it's a $100,000 increase from what we had previously to this new project. So those are numbers. They are available. If they should be on the town website. If not, I'm broadcasting them here.
Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff. I saw on there the Pembroke Community Center site feasibility study. There's all kinds of great stuff on our website. So we have 2 minutes left, gentlemen. What are some of the key points, and what is your final thoughts here for the final 2 minutes when you thought you would only be here for 15?
I don't do this.
Well, I could start off by, please, every town voter, please come to town meeting on Tuesday. It begins at 7 o'clock. We have a random draw of the warrant articles, so you don't know when it's going to come up. So please stay, and please stay for the rest of the meeting too,
Yes.
because there's some mundane but important articles
Absolutely.
that have to be voted on. But you need to be there to vote, and if you feel for this project, even if you're against it, the only way to express your opinion is to show up. So please show
That's
up.
a good
but
point.
I am an advocate for it. So
Yes. And that's a very good point, is if you are opposed to it, reach out, ask the questions. And I bet you that those concerns of yours are going to be washed away, because I think everything that we're doing is for the good of the town, right? I'm Sharon McNamara. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. If you have any other questions about this topic, feel free to reach out to me at 781-826-8000. You can also reach me at sharon@bostonconnect.com. I know how to get these guys because I have their digits, so don't you worry. I will get those answers for you. And gentlemen, I will see you Tuesday night. I'm voting yes on Article 4. That is a definite from me.
Thank you for having us.
All
and
right.
Please come out and vote.
All right. Thank you. Bye, George.
See you, Sharon.
Good job, guys.
Great. I know, you can eat up time pretty easily.
Marshfield, WPMS Brockton,
how's it WAPD?
the South Shore.